The Center for American and International Law is a very long-standing legal education institution that's really had a broad impact on society, not only here in Texas and nationally, but truly around the world, including international arbitration, energy law, technology, criminal justice, and perhaps most importantly today, law enforcement administration.
CAIL has always been at the forefront of continuing education for people working in and around law. For 75 years, it has put together programs taught by people at the very pinnacle, the very apex of our profession.
Robert Storey had been a senior American prosecutor of Nazi war criminals at Nuremberg. When he returned to Texas after the war, he both became dean of Southern Methodist University's law school, but also the founder of what is now CAIL, an institution that he saw as needed to uphold the administration of justice and the rule of law. He recognized that upholding the rule of law depended on educating and inspiring professionals. He soon realized that that mission was global in reach. Through the decades that have followed, both during his tenure and afterwards, CAIL has gathered from the nations of the world those who would be champions of the law.
The rule of law is an area of our society that has evolved over the years, and given the geopolitical landscape, not only here in the U.S., but globally, the importance of rule of law cannot be any more important today.
CAIL may be located in northern Texas, but it's welcomed participants from 130 countries around the world. That's pretty remarkable. And its diversity extends to its programs too. Law enforcement education, artificial intelligence and its application in relationship to law, oil and gas law, international trade. I think there's a diversity in what we do and who we do it with and for that makes CAIL a very special place.
One of the aspects that very few people know about is the work that's done in criminal law. They have had a program of excellent education in criminal law for more than 2 decades. Our Law Enforcement Institute is well recognized throughout the United States as one of the most exemplary.
CAIL offers top-notch quality, subject matter experts in their field, which can't help but make people better as they come through those doors. And by that, I think I'm better by having been trained at ILEA.
The idea of continuing professional education was novel when the center was created 75 years ago, but we have been a pioneer and have had a real impact in this country and in many countries around the world.
One of the most important parts of CAIL over the years has been our academy. We bring in younger lawyers from around the world, not only network, but learn about some of these key principles of the rule of law, the promotion of democracy, the promotion of access to justice. Take those home with them, and many of these folks over the years have graduated not only from our institute with success, but become leaders in their home countries.
It is making the entire world a better place, and ultimately that is the way we promote the rule of law and the betterment of society.
I can truly say that seated in front of me are 47 of the most extraordinary people I will ever meet.
CAIL has brought in over 130 countries in the center right now. There is a bonding between people coming here from different continents and different countries to be together for 5 to 6 weeks. And that bond extends beyond being together in the center and also gave us so much content to go back and to implement in our own jurisdiction communities.
CAIL provides education to lawyers from developing nations who come to CAIL to learn about the American legal system. Some of these attorneys go on to foster economic security through international trade. Some use what they learn to protect human rights. All are empowered to uphold liberty and the rule of law.
CAIL is not just intellectually and scholarly important for all of us to come together, but it's important for us to have here in the United States a Center for American and International Law that helps connect United States practitioners with the rest of the world. It's an essential mission to keep that conversation going.
When you're attempting to create a framework for legal compliance across the globe, what you have to do is start with a strong foundation. And that's what CAIL does. Mary Kay was so fortunate to have multiple lawyers from our international markets participate in the Institute for International and Comparative Law. And they took away so many great concepts that have really formed the fabric of our global legal team.
CAIL's biggest impact on society is if it can inspire professionals to be more than good enough, to really feel the calling of their profession, whether it's in law or law enforcement. It's easy to settle for being good enough. CAIL calls for people to be more than good enough.
It's very important that we reflect the society, the cultures around the world, that we are attempting to further educate on the rule of law and democracy. So it's important that within and externally, we are much more diverse in not only the demographics of who we are, but also on the topics, the engagements, and the cultures that we interact with. Law is not stagnant, it's very, very dynamic, and we need to be ahead of the curve in determining what's relevant to our society and what we can do to have that impact as an organization.
Gifts to CAIL support vital education programs for law enforcement leaders. Gifts also support much-needed maintenance of CAIL's 20-year-old education center in Plano, where attorneys and law enforcement officers receive training throughout the year. Supporting CAIL is important because one only needs to scan the headlines to see that current issues threaten justice and the rule of law, making CAIL's work more relevant to our society than ever.
CAIL must serve those who are responsible for protecting the rights of others. And whether lawyers or in law enforcement, many are in small agencies that can't pay dues and registration fees. It's only with the support of benefactors that we can reach all of the professionals who would benefit from being part of our communities.
We have to reach people around the world. Well, you have lawyers in developing countries that may earn $200 a month. They can't afford to come to programs in the United States to learn about American and international law. But if we can give them the opportunity to be here, it can, in some instances, not only change the legal structure in their home countries, it can have an impact on the world.
The reverberations that a CAIL Institute has are tremendous for the participants, going back to their communities and using what they've learned and seeing the character and the integrity and the dedication of leaders in their professions. And that's what CAIL gives people the opportunity to do.
I think the importance of CAIL is the fact that its mission is focused on justice and the rule of law, which is really the foundation of a civilized society.
After I left here, I have been to close to 70 countries and still counting. And it's because my eyes got open in the center and the possibilities were infinite. It's the first time I came to an institution where I redefined freedom.
As we begin the next 75 years of CAIL's history, I look forward to expanding our reach and to continue to educate, connect, and inspire those who would be champions of the rule of law. Those who are responsible for protecting the rights of others don't just need education. They need inspiration. They need to be supported by a community of those around them. And CAIL is vital to making that happen.
We must be mentors. We must be coaches. We must be the one that those officers can come talk to.
When we hear on news about an officer getting in trouble or something going on, the first thing they say is training. But nobody knows what that training is. So I think we have an opportunity to get the bullhorn and tell how great CAIL is and how great ILEA is as far as offering training. A good trained officer is a better officer for the community.
It's a matter of people of great knowledge and skill passing on the torch. To think that you can make a difference, but it's ultimately individual by individual. It's ultimately by student. I'm passing on the torch as it was passed on to me, and I want my students to do the same.
CAIL is a wonderful example of what can happen when extraordinary people are willing to share their time, their talent, and their resources to support the rule of law and to support education. This is a place where magic like that happens.